So I've got my lovely piece of textured paper already on my basis. So I've got a piece of stretched 600-gram watercolour paper. I've painted the outside in silver and white acrylic, and I've got my Jackson's Eco paper in the middle. I know the size that I want it. I know I want to use this. Oops, I've dropped something. And I know I want these in the composition somehow. I want it to go in a black frame. So I've got a few colours that I've already prepared. These are momigami pieces, done in various different ways and with the most beautiful effects. So there's some black paper here, which again, you know, you just have to play with it, see what happens as you go along, see which bits you like with it, and see how you're going to respond to it all. That was cardboard, and that is shoe polish on there. So, and again, so that's the same, red cardboard with shoe polish. Again, it's all in other videos. I'll put the links to in the bottom in the description. This was felted papers, and I just keep all the bits that are left over because some of them are so nice. They just make such nice little additions to your collage. I mean, look, isn't that nice? You could frame that up in itself, couldn't you? And that's another piece of momigami piece, sort of nice, different types of textures that you're going to put together to make a composition. So I know the sort of composition I want. You have to really play by ear as you go along, because I'm now going to add colour to this. And I don't want to make it too fussy, because then it distracts from the top layer. I think there has to be some sort of degree of calm in it somewhere, so that's what I'm aiming for. I don't want to add too much colour, but I know from experience that I like a bit of blue with my black. And I know also that you can just more or less use dirty water with this. Too much colour spoils it. So, I mean, I like it like that, you know, when there's it's telling a really, really quiet story. And I like a bit of, you know, marks, so I want the marks to show as well. You know, your actual, oops, that's too much, but I'm going to go with it. No, that's nice. I want the actual marks of your brush to work with it too. So I'd sort of do that, see what happens, and add some colour in it so that it keeps interesting. See what happens with that lot, and then I can add colour after, can't I, as well? So I can build a layer up on this if I want to. So that's that for that bit. I'm going to dribble some bits on. Oh, that's a bit of blue because I like that blue. Okay, that's that for that bit. Again, there's other videos on this. There's a purple and rust one I did, which is nice. There's a bit of a blodge there, but I can get rid of that with some silver paint. And that's the beginning, so you know that all these things are going to go on top of it now. You see, this would be lovely with a bit of blue just wiped over the top of it. I'm going to do that now. But just to bring in the blue from the rest of it, just the suggestion of it, you know? You hardly need to use anything. And then that sort of fits in with everything else a bit more. Be interesting to see what happens. So I shall put that to one side to dry. It's a fairly slow process, and you just have to go with that a bit. I want some more black in there. As it dries, of course, it goes very much lighter. It's a slow process to go with it, and maybe do 2 or 3 things at the same time. It's whether you've got the space, isn't it? Okay, I'm going to put that all to one side to dry and get on with some other things. back to my textured one, and that is pretty dry. I'm not so keen on the redness of it, so I'm just adding a bit of greys and whites to that to try and take out the redness of it. And I like that pearlescent-y white, so just gonna bring that in a couple of places and see what happens, basically, because it's just a bit too pink. And of course, as I'm adding this second layer of acrylic in this way, it's sealing my paper as well. So that'll now have a plastic seal on it from the paint itself. But you can see this really nice subtle bits there, you know, it depends what you want. I really like as well the way that the paint applied in the wash has seeped to the edges and caused a line around the edge. So the actual frayed edge of the painting image is going to come out a bit more, isn't it, when you frame it? And I like it being irregular. And it's lovely to putting a mount over that if you've got one that you can trash, or just a piece of paper, because it really doesn't give you the idea of the space you've got to play with. Okay, and again, it's not dry, so I can't wait. So that had that tiny weeny bit of blue on it, which you can barely see now. And you can see it's got this beautiful dull haze of pink, which does really work with it. And now it's just a question of playing with it until you feel like it's got the colours that you want to make your composition. Remembering as well that that's the sort of thing you want, this, I want this thing at the end. So that might be too confused. I liked it on there, thought it went well, but that's too confused. And if you did like it, maybe take a photograph of it so that you can put it in your sketchbook and it's a reference to the future. And then again, you see, do you take this so that it goes right over to the edges? Because it is a nice thing. Or do you contain it within its shape? I did this, which is, it's black acrylic on 240 gram paper, momigami'd, as in scrunched, and then painted in a red glaze, well, a very watery glaze, so that it seeps through. And part of it I've painted on the back in a black and a slight blue, and you get these lovely bits where it seeps through, and you get these gorgeous intensities where it seeps through, and you can just take out small bits of it to use if you want to. And even you see there where it seeps through again. So it's sort of like, remember to use these things for yourself. Isn't that beautiful on there? So I am going to cut that. These rubbish scissors, I don't care. And you could rip it, the ripped edge is nice. Now you could use it that side, which is too intense. I like it that side, so I'm losing that beautiful piece, but still. I even like that line down through there. And I like the edge, again, you know, there's an edge to the paper where the inks and stuff have actually sort of solidified on the edge, and I like that. It's obviously been left there. I didn't want it so solid, you know, the line where it's that looks quite dark at the moment, but it won't dry dark. I really, really want that edge being darker. I mean, even that's lovely. Okay, so that's going to go there. I'm being impatient here. I've just realised I want a piece of sort of white through here somehow, underneath this, because I want this to show, but I want it to come up over there, I think. think. In any case, that's my gut feeling. And obviously, if I was doing this without you, I would not paint this on top of my picture. But I just want a white pearlescent paint that I had put onto the bottom. I'm going to move everything out the way. Please forgive the mess of this board. I'm getting into a bit of a mess here, but I'm just quickly applying some colour to a piece of paper because I didn't have the exact colour that I wanted. Now I've got a pearlescent white there, which I will use in other collages if I don't use it in here. But I also want something with a bit of black in it, I think, a bit of grey in it. So I'm just gonna do another little piece of this paper and then just get a dirty paintbrush, as I did with the base, and just mix some of that grey in, just so that it's not too boring. You know, that there's something more to it than just the pearlescent white. But that's what I'm going to do, and just let it be. I mean, I like the marks on it as well, so let's see what happens with that. So there's a few elements that I've decided I wanted on here. I like that. I like this on there, half on and half off, I think. Evident, in any case, and something like that. And then that through there. But I didn't like it. I like that colour, there's a red in there, but I didn't, you know, it would look better. It looks better with light underneath it, so that you can see its texture a bit more. That was just threads and things that I'd done in the past, and it just sort of makes more of this, I think, sort of unifies it a bit more. And then I do like this, and it's when you put this on, it is very different. So that was going to be the composition. And I tried other things. I tried putting that in. It's too greeny. Oh, and I tried using this pearlescent white on it, and it was too much. It's a pearlescent white and gold, so I didn't want that one. And I even had some lovely gold and silver pearlescents, but again, it just makes it too blingy. And this was left over from a video that I did before. That's actually quite nice because it's got the sort of, it's reflecting the light a lot there, but it's got a copper in it. I could try that actually. So what I want is a slither that's going to let the light through. And even that's quite nice. That was the other side of it, which is, but you see, it's so tempting to go overboard with it all, and you don't need to. It really can be simple and sweet. It does not have to be complicated. It can really be understated. All these I'm just gonna, they're getting wiggled about, but I will. See, in fact, that is quite nice. Get rid of it under here, I don't want it here. So we could just go like that, because you can barely see it. And that would obviously be square. And I could have a tiny bit sticking out the bottom, because that's quite nice. Even have a little bit there and then a little bit there. I do quite like that colour, I'm surprised. See, even that's nice, isn't it? Hidden. It brings out the blue in it. You see lovely little happenstances like that happen. Do I use it? Do I not? Is it over confused? And then when it's stuck down as well, it'll all look slightly different as well. And this, I really want, it's the Momigami thing. I'd quite like it stuck just as a single layer, because it becomes something else again. Or you could even get another bit of this piece and stick that in there. But I think that's just about how it's going to be once it's finished. And it's just a question of gluing it down. And what you have to do is remember, take a photograph of it, remember where they are, and then start from the background and move forward. And even this, like, you could change the tone of this cream, but you see when it's stuck down or when it's glazed, it will look very different because the colours from underneath will come through. Let's see what's happened to all the bits and pieces I've made. So that's either that way or that way. And I didn't like the pink. So I did in fact do a more red one. But I wanted to take the grey, I wanted to take the whiteness out of it. Yeah, no, that's better. And I'm going to have to hope it stays that sort of colour. Right, I'm just going to get a PVA glue and start this now, even though this isn't dry. It's not PVA glue, it is acrylic medium. And I'm using this because I know that it's archival. If it was put behind glass, it doesn't give off the toxins that PVA glue gives off. And seeing as I might want to sell this right now, you can place it on here and put creases in it. So you can position it and give it some more texture if that's what you want, you know. That is a acrylic medium gloss, but with it's a mix really. It was just stuff I've got left over. I think I wanted it that way up. Oh, and I wanted it sticking over, didn't I? This on top of that. So it was that way. I knew that would come out nice because it's just such nice stuff. Covering up a multitude of sins up here. Beautiful. That way. So straight at the bottom, and I want it over the edge a bit. Just enough to make that look filamenty. Okay. This bit, which is going to be more difficult to stick down. A bit more medium. These mediums are often, you know, just really good binders. Like this is a pouring medium. I've just got some here in the studio rather than, because sadly I've got stuff everywhere at the moment because of the little studio in Carsington. But they're all going down really nicely, and it's stuck this down, so that's, I mean, it's really nice already. Then do I go for that colour or the blue? Let's go for the blue. Right. There we go. And then this little thing, which is a bit strange. I just want it to be an extra, like so. Just a bit more texture and a bit more. And it's this mulberry paper, so it sort of breaks up as well. That's pretty good. And then last, was that the last piece? Last but not least was this. And that will need a lot of glue. In fact, it might be better if it was wet. I'm just going to make this a bit wet and soggy. It's slightly milky, but it all dries transparent. And I should be wearing gloves with this because this stuff is not good for your hands. Okay, here goes. Okay, so just get this down, arranged how you want it, twist it and turn it. I cut a little piece of that out. I was going to put it that way, but do I want it that way? No, I want it subtler, so I'm going to put it that way. And just put that in there. And I think that's all it needs. Okay, so, I mean, there's lovely bits like this that might go on. If we just do a square in there, just a little square there. There or there, it looks more. Okay, that's that done. Just have a quick look with it in the mount, which you shouldn't do because I've really messed this mount up. I'll probably put it in a white mount in any case, but it's going in a, well, I think it's going in a black frame. But there you are. And there's nice bits, even the smudge on the edge there. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. I quite like this cream that's been left there, which is quite unpredictably nice. And also the white of the thread's nice, which again is unpredictable.